Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kat.
And we're
the Ghouls Next Door.
And we today are talking about classism.
We are.
It is the horrors of society that we will dwell upon this month.
And they are pretty horrific, let me tell you.
Yes.
Yes. Serious conversations will be had.
Yes.
Normal,
serious conversations, as we are known to have here.
Yes.
Because we abide by the order of the podcast train.
Yes.
Where you...
Well, I don't.
...are a shoe.
I don't follow the
and
order.
And I am a hat. You belong on the foot. I belong on the head. We all have our particular places on the podcast train.
I throw a shoe at you. The shoe... Well, I didn't. It was somebody else.
Yeah.
But a shoe is thrown to represent that we're coming.
Rebellion.
We're coming for you.
Yeah.
We're messing it up.
You hear that,
I don't
listeners?
care if everybody dies.
We are messing it up.
I take back that I don't care if everybody dies part.
Yeah. No, you definitely seemed like that was what you wanted.
Just like for character.
Yeah.
You
for
know.
context, listener, we're going to be talking about the film Snowpiercer, which has very blatant, this is about capitalism dialogue in the narrative.
Classism.
And we, for our viewing audience, are dressed like characters from the film. Kat is Chris Evans, and I am Tilda Swinton, or Minister Mason is my character.
I don't remember his name from the
Curtis.
movie. Curtis.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
me.
know if they had last names, but you're Curtis.
Me.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about what's scary about classism, which is to say a lot. And we're going to wake you up, sheeple.
Yeah.
And we're going to hopefully revolutionize, seize the means of production, just like they do in the film, which is exactly what we do here.
It.
So settle up.
I'm only looking forward.
Because this train is leaving the station.
Yeah.
The radio station.
You're doing a bunch.
On the radio,
You're
okay.
doing a bunch of puns.
Facts. We tell you facts. All the facts.
Do you remember that people are trash?
Yes.
That's good. Because we still are.
I can't forget it.
We've been. And probably going to continue to be. It's like very likely. More often than not. But specifically we're talking about classism. So if you don't know what classism is, it is as Gabe or Minister Mason sternly said, it is the order.
Yes.
It is the order of society that we follow. It is what we decide. Well, we don't decide. The people above us decide. The best way to keep us in line, essentially, to keep us in our stations, to keep us in our cars, to keep us in our classes.
Yeah.
They want us to be there, and they don't want us to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because it's the means to the end that is society still benefiting those at the top and continuously, like, dehumanizing those at the bottom.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just, like, really fun. I guess if we think about Marx, you know, as the one who's like,
yes,
down with capitalism, seize the means of production. He also said religion is the opiate of the masses.
Indeed.
And that's very much what, like, we see in, like, even just outside of religion, just, like, anything that puts us in a section kind of operates that way. It's the thing that keeps us complacent. It keeps us from rising up. So to explain or elaborate, I got an article from the internet that was for smart people. It's called JSTOR. It's like where you go to college educated.
Yeah.
College what? Peer reviewed. That's the word I'm looking for.
College what?
College what? Peer reviewed articles. Yes. That's what it is. So I got an article for Anthropology Times. That's not what it's called, but it was Anthropology something.
Yeah.
Review, I think. And it was like all the thoughts on this subject, which today is classism.
Yeah.
So this is from that. So the article says, to explain and elaborate the social structure, reconcile the lower classes to their lot, and assist the rulers in repressing the people and prevent rebellion. That's what classism is. So we said that, but also smart people said that. So it means I'm smart.
So we're backed up.
Yeah.
We got sources. You have to believe us.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's lots of reasons that this exists, specifically because we live for America, we live in a capitalistic society.
Yes.
People who have risen in the ranks, like lots of people like to act like there isn't classism here because there aren't classes, because you can at any time rise above.
Move in them.
Because the, like, original definition of classism is that, like, you're not supposed to leave your spaces. Yeah. You're supposed to stay in your spot. And the whole thing is that you stay there, and that's what maintains the order.
Yeah.
But
we have the American dream.
Yeah. We have the American dream that gives hope to the masses that we are oppressing and repressing and messing up just all around now.
Yeah.
But we have to give them hope.
Yeah.
Is what the rich people say. We have to give them something to believe in so that they're not so unhappy that they don't think that there's, like, they don't have anything to lose.
Yeah.
We need to give them a little bit of something to lose so that when they keep going, they'll keep going to maintain that thing that they don't want to lose.
Yeah.
But they're still in a place low enough that they're suffering from, you know, higher rates of cancer, higher rates of illnesses, you know, violence in communities. Like, we have, like, people fighting each other over things that everyone should have a right to home.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah.
Fresh water. Like, it's basically intentional is what I'm trying to argue. Is that the whole thing's intentional. So they give us this idea. They dangle it in front of us. And we reach for it.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yeah. So we don't notice that we're drowning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we're trying to, like, get to a better place. We're all like, the lottery. Work really hard. Your business takes off. Get famous on the internet by doing dumb stuff. You know, there's lots of things. Everyone wants to get there. They want to get to the place where we idolize our celebrities, our people who are rich.
Yeah.
You know, you have the Kardashians. You have all those folks that are like, everyone's like, oh my God, I wish I was them. I don't, but, like, other people feel that way. So the idea is that, like, we're supposed to feel like we can leave the class that we're in. So if we're in the lower class, if we're in the lower working class, we're in the working class, we're in the middle class, we're in the upper middle class, all of it is kind of set up so that we never reach the social elite, which is, like, the rich, the billionaires.
Yeah.
More money than any human should one own. So essentially, you get the idea that you think you can get out of it, and you never kind of do anything different.
You don't improve the conditions you're in now, because you'll just leave it.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
We're going to get that magic ticket. We're going to get the lottery. We're going to...
Yeah.
We're going to get rich real quick, real easy. You're not going to have to worry about it. And then even those that's like, you have the American dream where it's like you work hard enough, you sacrifice enough, you prioritize your dream, it'll happen.
Yeah.
Where it's like, that's not always the case. And then you're making it the fault of the, like, small business owner, the, like, little guy, essentially, instead of the fact that there's much more risk for people making business than those investing in it.
Yeah.
And, like, we have people who are working their butts off who, from no fault of their own, is just, like, not able to make ends meet, not able to, like, rise above where they are because the system is set up that that's not possible.
Yeah.
So essentially, all I'm saying is it's really intentional. The rich people don't want us to be with them. The only way you're going to get there is through, like, open doors in the back where it's like, oh, you know this person. It's all about who you know.
Yeah.
And if you don't know those people, you're not going to get there. And honestly, I don't know if you want it because it's gross.
Yeah. Well, there's also the people who don't want to change the system because then when they get there, they want to have the same benefits. Like, they don't want to change it so that the rich have to pay their taxes. Because I don't want to pay my taxes when I'm rich. Like,
I don't want to pay my taxes now, but I get why I have to because the schools have asbestos. And it's just like...
But that's what the people are thinking. That's what I'm saying. It's like they don't even want to change the conditions they're in because it's temporary. And they want to bask in whatever it is they get when they inevitably become rich.
Yeah. And all I'm saying is, I'm not trying to be a dream killer. Have your dreams. All I'm saying is do it smart. Like, have a backup plan for your backup plan. Like, have a side hustle for your dream.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need something that's going to catch you if something goes wrong. And, like, I feel like people just think they're gonna go until they make it. They don't care if like they die along the way. They're just gonna go until they make it. And it's like, you gotta, one, it has nothing to do with you, whether or not you're talented, whether or not you're wonderful, whether or not you're like the greatest person that's ever lived.
Yeah.
If it is not seen from those who make those decisions, you probably won't.
Yeah.
And that's really sad. But essentially, that's the whole thing. And then we pit the classes against each other. So that's like the other piece. So it's like you have the middle class thinking they're better than the lower working class. We have the working class thinking they're better than the lower working class because they're just a little bit above.
Yeah.
You always have this idea that like, I am in a better place than someone else, so at least I'm not in their shoes.
Yeah.
So it's like, how lucky am I? And it's like, I am up here, so clearly I am closer to achieving something better than those under. So it's like when people think that like they could never be homeless, they could never, it's like, you don't know what your life's gonna have. You're gonna have situations that happen, and then you're gonna have an awakening and be like, wow, I was a real jerk all that time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then we have the upper class, so like the upper middle class even, who's not even that rich. Like they're living comfortably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they actively support this elite class that doesn't want anything to do with them except for them to just continue to idolize and want to work to be more towards them when they never will. And then they just blame the lower classes for all the problems of society, which is also very intentional.
Yep.
So they're putting drugs in places, they're putting like
Guns.
they're like lighting communities on fire essentially, and then being like, oh, it's the fault of the people who are in those communities, not the people who brought all the bad stuff in.
Yeah, not the school to prison pipeline. Nope.
Yeah, no, that's not the problem. It's the poor people.
Yeah.
It's the immigrants.
Look what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not that we don't give them any other choice, but look what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're
so
doing
that's the
it
whole
anyway.
thing. And it's just like, there's people, I know tons of people who, and it just hurts me, because they believe wholeheartedly that there are people who deserve dehumanizing levels of poverty. Like poverty that no person who is alive, no anything that is alive and sentient and here should ever have to experience.
Yeah.
They think they deserve it.
Yeah.
And no one does.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think the hardest thing, it's like when you're arguing about like politics and stuff, that like, if they don't see that, it's very hard to convince them otherwise.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not saying you'll never get there.
They did it to themselves.
Yeah, they didn't. Is the whole thing. So, I have an article from USA News, I think? USA News? Yeah, look at me know stuff. USA News. It's about basically how in America specifically, we have recently, in the last 30 years, very intentionally and very drastically limited the upward mobility in our country. So like we used to have the American dream when we first started, you know, you work your way up, you shake the right hands, you get in the right doors, you know, you're making a lot of money. There was a lot more like underdogs who rose up that like, yes, that's who we idolize now and that's part of the problem. But like there was a lot more upward mobility before.
Yeah.
It was like if your parents moved up, then you as a child had more likely a chance to move up, where that's no longer the case. So essentially, the last 30 years, Christopher Sandy Jenkins. He's a Malcolm Weiner professor of social policy at Harvard Kennedy School. So essentially, he said, the decline in jobs and the employment rates for less skilled workers have increased so much that like the number of households with children without male breadwinners is like impacting the economy. The demand for college graduates outpacing the pool of job candidates. I know we're facing that as millennials. We all were told to go to college, but there's not enough jobs for us.
Yep.
We just have all this debt. Yay. And they're like, why aren't they buying houses? It's because they don't want kids. It's like, because we can't afford food.
Yeah. You got baby money?
No.
Mom?
I barely have cat money.
Yeah.
I have one cat.
Yeah.
Two, technically, because we share.
Yeah.
And who's affording this? It's like, it's hard enough to just pay basic rent that isn't that high.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It's because the economy sucks. So, we have loans. The share of income flow from the top 1% earners is doubling, essentially, instead of us kind of getting a share across the board. So it's because of deregulation, globalization, and speculation in the financial service industry. So when they shipped everything overseas, when they shut down all the oil and the coal and the industries that we had in America. We used to have industries, which I mean is bad for the planet.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people had jobs in those spaces that no longer have jobs, and it's really messing us up. We are just like continuously pushing the elite up, and then not helping those in the middle and lower class. Like, our middle class is shrinking.
Yeah.
And basically, the cause of this, which, shocking, guys, taxes are important. Taxes are important.
Yeah.
I know we didn't like the British, but we didn't know them. So we have no reason to hate taxes as hard as we do.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
We don't need to be throwing tea.
Stop teaching American history then, because if that's like the lesson that we all should just hate taxes, it's stupid.
Yeah.
You need taxes to make stuff work.
It was taxation without representation.
We have representation sometimes.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm saying.
So, like, everybody chill. We need to pay taxes, because guess what? The causes of poverty are when you don't have enough taxes in an area, essentially, that will cause decreases in K-12 education, where it's like you have schools filled with asbestos or no air conditioning, and it's so hot in the summers that kids are falling asleep and passing out because they can't stay awake because they're suffering from heat stroke.
Yeah.
You have unclean water. You have water with little like lead and poison in it that you're feeding to your children.
Still does not have clean water.
Also Philly.
Yeah.
Like, it's everywhere. It's so bad.
Fracking.
You have all this stuff. You have these things that you're not paying taxes to fix the problems that would solve our future, essentially. Yeah. You're worried about who you are now and not about 20 years from now, because you're not going to be here 20 years from now, is your thought, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, boomer.
But what I'm saying is that basically we have schools that are failing because there's not enough money in them. We don't have teachers who are getting paid enough to survive, so they're miserable.
Yeah.
And then we have like schools who are in areas of dense and high trauma and like poverty that are not getting the resources they need. And then you have areas that don't have jobs, and then you have food disparities because you have corner stores that can't afford to have vegetables and stuff in them. Yeah. And it's just like, it goes on and on. There's no grocery stores. There's all these things, and all these things lead to healthy, happy humans who would
contribute to society.
Yeah, and you're setting it up so that they can't. You're literally giving them none of the tools to do so and then blaming them for that.
Yeah.
When the problem is that the city or the state will give all this money to big companies to come in, not make them pay taxes for however many years. Then you have all the poor people paying taxes and all the middle class people paying taxes, but it's not enough to cover the expenses that are needed. And then everything goes to trash, and you're like, why?
What happened here?
We brought all those jobs. And it's like, no, if that rich person just paid taxes, maybe we could have started fixing these problems. So we're at it.
Or the fact that, like, we have a low, unemployment rate, but that's just because everyone has 3 jobs.
Yes.
To feed their one life instead of one job. So it's not really that we have low unemployment. It's just that we don't have a living wage.
Yeah. So from that article, thank you for the lead-in. That was actually really perfect. In addition, 90% of American workers have seen their wages stall while the cost of living continue to rise. Mm-hmm. So 90%. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's like all of it.
Yep.
That's like 10%'s okay.
Yeah.
The rest of them aren't. The whole country, 90% of that has not seen an increase in wages to match the rise in housing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why aren't we buying houses?
Yeah.
Why aren't we affording life and doing okay?
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Why aren't they contributing to the order?
Yeah. So it's basically, they haven't adjusted the income since 1989. They haven't adjusted for inflation.
Yes.
So here we are.
$15 an hour.
Here we are, guys. All I'm saying is...
There's a lot of campaigns thrown in here.
There's classism across the board. It's in every country. It's in some capacity. You have different versions. You have different boxes that we try to put ourselves in as people, as Homo sapiens. It's a part of the pecking order. I get it.
Yeah.
But there are ways that you can do it that aren't as, like, dooming.
Yeah.
Like, you're setting your society up to fail. And then also, you're just, like, helping people who are, like, they don't even realize how much they're hurting.
Yeah.
They don't realize how much they're hurting the people underneath them.
Because they're convinced that they did it to themselves.
Yeah.
So if anything, like, they don't see them as needing help.
Yeah. And they're comfortable. Yeah. So why would they question that?
Yep.
Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watched some films. Now let's talk about those films.
We watched some stuff.
We did.
we watched 2 films by director Bong Joon-Ho to talk about classism, because he does that.
He does a bunch of it. He was really good at it, too. Both movies were a very fun time.
Yeah.
Well, like, stressful but great kind of thing.
And they're, like, very deliberate, on the nose in their own way, so that, like, he's not trying to be art house about them. Where it's just like, ooh, what am I saying to you? You have to be really deep. It's like, no, I'm going to give you literally a lecture at the beginning of one.
Yeah.
And then I'm just going to, like, have in your face, like, like symbolism in the second one. Right. So we watched Snowpiercer, which is from 2013, and is what we're dressed as.
Yeah.
For people watching.
So, Snowpiercer. In a future where failed climate change experiment has killed all life, for the lucky few who are aboarded the Snowpiercer, a train that travels around the globe, a new class system emerges.
Yeah.
As would happen in this society, in all
Almost
societies.
Instantly. Yeah, so the world is frozen. It's like, what is it, 2012 or the day after tomorrow type levels of intensity. And it's because of some climate change mishap. Like, we brought our own fall, that seems right.
It's our fault.
Yeah. And we have one train that exists and travels around the world.
It just goes real fast.
Keeps people alive. And in the train, we have very clear class systems. We have a back of the train, we have the middle of the train, and we have the front of the train.
Yeah.
So we have the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class.
And there's some, like, little deviations within there. It's like, you got the, like, a little working class, I guess we could call them.
Yep.
Where it's like that one guy.
Yep. Yeah.
Just making the bugs.
Yeah. And the bug food. Spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just also, this episode is full of spoilers. So if you haven't seen either Snowpiercer or Parasite, please do so before listening to this episode or watching this episode, because we are just gonna, we have to talk about all this stuff.
You've been warned.
Yes.
So, classism, obviously. And you have, like, all these versions of people where it's like, they're all city, the shoe.
Yep.
It's dark. They've got windows.
Yep, no windows, yep. Yeah, there's a lot of really great cinematography happening in this that's very deliberate and just, like, true to Bong Joon-Ho's, like, style, which I'll dive into shortly. But yeah, it's starring Chris Evans, who is Curtis, who's leading the rebellion to seize the means of operation, which is the train's engine. And we have Tilda Swinton, who plays Minister Mason, trying to kind of keep everyone in line.
Yeah.
In their place.
Watched it, so.
For Snowpiercer, when you're watching, you just really have to suspend, like, disbelief.
It's gonna be like, yeah, this could happen.
You just don't try to put science or physics or reality into it. You just have to pretend that's not real.
It's very Hunger Games-y in that way.
Yeah. You can't pretend like it's a real train, and the way that the trains work and the way you move through them applies to this film. Just don't look at that. That's not important. What's important is the people in it and what's happening in classism.
What they're saying.
Yeah. We watched another thing. We watched Parasite, which is from 2019 and is award-winning. Rightfully so. And if you have not seen this, you really, really need to, like, definitely pause this.
Oh, yeah, it was genuinely amazing.
Go watch it. It's so worth your time. Do not let little subtitles keep you from a really amazing experience with this film. So, Parasite is about a poor family, the Kims, con their way into becoming the servants of a rich family, the Parks. But their easy life gets complicated when their deception is threatened with exposure.
Bum, bum, bum.
Which is such a nice, concise way to explain what this is, because most people are like, what is it about? And I'm like, a family gets a job with a rich family. And I'm like, and that's really all I can tell you. I can't explain anything else.
The rest is spoilers.
Yeah. And also, like, it's just so much easier to just sit there not really knowing and just, like, experience it for the first time. Which brings us into... so, I want to start with Snowpiercer. So one thing to note is that we are just talking about Snowpiercer and Parasite, but Bong Joon-Ho has great horror and other films that we will probably capture in a later episode. But these two are specifically about classism and how... and one is, like, so drastically crazy and fun, and the other one being serious, still fun, but very serious, is interesting. And so I wanted to kind of like talk about those two. So I'll start with Snowpiercer. One of the things with Bong Joon-Ho in these two films is his use of camera movements and also like the movement of and placement of the characters in relation to the class in either moving forward or ahead in class or lowering down. The way that the camera treats the characters also contributes to the class that they are in as well. So there's just like a whole story happening just in like the creation of what we're seeing on screen. So I think it's funny because Snowpiercer just like on the surface is just like a fun dystopian film where it's like mayhem on a train. Yeah. It's not my favorite train horror movie. That would be Train to Busan. But it is definitely up there. And I will fight you that it is a horror movie. It's some horrific things happen in there. It's like action horror.
Okay, so we already gave a disclaimer at the beginning. Yeah. Anywhere that cannibalism takes place is a horror movie. Yeah. It's just default, 100%. Yeah. So.
One thing I love about Snowpiercer is that it's similar to the way that we approach our media, and that it takes this like absurd thing and then takes it very seriously. It's like, what if this crazy idea, we made it like very, very honest. Like we just made it deliberate.
Like we believe it.
Yeah. And that's what's really fun because that really comes across. Like I, even like when, again, suspend like physics belief, you do believe this society, and it's very easy to be like, of course this would happen. Like she's literally like, Minister Mason is just like, there's a before class or your place was determined by your ticket. So you had like the regular seats, right? And then you have like first class. Like we already were classifying each other. So now it's just like, in order to like have success in this new world, which is just this train, you have to be in your place. We can't all fit in the front. We don't have seats up there, right? Like, so it's like a literal, like, comparison of that. It's just like, okay, but we can make the whole train be as nice as the front.
Yeah,
and I think
just
that's
livable. I think would be the ask.
The fact that he made the train so that it would be like that, and he let those people on, already lets you know like something's up, right? Yeah. So in this, we have the story where it's like the whole thing is like this uprising, and they want to seize the means of operation, which is literally just the engine of the train. Yeah. Like the actual means of the whole thing. And so they try to move forward. They seize the food, which they find out only affects them because it's their food and it's gross. It was bugs. Horror movie. They seize the water, which was crazy. They try to seize the food, the other food,
like the nicer food,
and the children. They get to the children car, which I would argue is the scariest part of this film. Our lower class, like backside of the train, what we have visually is people who look like coal miners. Right? So they're all dirty. They never see the sunlight. They look like they've been rummaging around in coals. Yeah. And they are packed in there really tight. Like they're pretty much on top of each other. And just like coal mines, their children are taken from them to go and complete jobs that only tiny children hands can accomplish. And because there's no child labor laws. We say you do. They are fed bugs, spoilers, and have even eaten each other once upon a time. Yeah. Spoilers.
We don't have to say spoilers anymore. We already did it once.
I know. But it's just helpful. The first act of rebellion for this is a shoe being thrown. And I thought, one, that was funny because of the Bush administration. I was like, yeah,
that's what you did there.
Everyone does that. It's cool. And then you get that lecture from Mr. Mason, which is like, that you don't put a shoe on your head. That's silly. Hats go on your head. Everyone has a place. You have shoes on your feet because that's the place that they're supposed to be in. Right?
Logical is what she thinks.
Yes. It makes sense, right? And logical.
We aren't close.
It is like my favorite line is that the other thing that we have is throughout this journey, we have our character Curtis who who continuously, as they're moving forward, what is really to the right of the screen, will continuously, whenever he makes a decision, whether to move forward or kind of like get into his place, it is this physical act of him looking to the left or looking to the right. Like, he's making a decision. Do I leave that life behind and progress forward, or do I have to like go back and help my friend? Yeah. Who I almost ate once. And so he like definitely chooses that to not eat his friend. I'd say the scariest part is the middle class. So
the kids. Is that how the kids train?
Yeah. Yep. So the middle class has like some really great things going on, but what we see most interesting is like the suggestion and manipulation of the middle class. So there's a YouTube channel, NerdWriter1, who covered this film as well, and so I was watching and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense. And they said really great things, so I wanted to quote them on something. So they said,
educated enough to think for themselves, yet comfortable enough to be highly susceptible to propaganda, the middle class is at once the most important and the most dangerous cross-section of society. And the school is the place where the middle class is indoctrinated into a system that will exploit them and those less fortunate, where ideology is most powerful.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, this is where we're convincing them that they're better than those below them, but also convincing them that this is the place that they belong. Right? And it's like, they're comfortable enough, right, that they don't question the world around them and question the information that they're given, but they also don't question like their own place in society. Yeah. Which is just like, no, why do you not question those things?
Because they're comfortable. They don't want anything to change.
Yeah. The other thing that Nerdwriter brought up that I thought was really great is that the true heroes of this story are Namgung and his daughter Jara, who are from the middle class. Like, they are middle class people. So they have seen the light before because they have windows, and have also seen the passing of the previous rebellions and have a knowledge of the world because they can see through the windows. And they just choose to actually look. And make a plan and pay attention. And they know that it's not just about the train, it is about the world outside, which is super interesting. Right? So the children's car. Why this is the scariest part is that it reminds me of The Wave, which is this experiment that happened, I believe, in California, where like a teacher was teaching about the Holocaust. Yeah. And a bunch of kids were like, I don't understand how people go along with that. And then he was like, well, you know, you never know until you're in it, right? Like, until you're kind of convinced that this is what reality is. And so he over time, like, gave certain roles to some of the students to give them, like, authority and make them feel special and different from the other ones. Yeah. To the point where, and then he would, like, give them tasks of, like, you have to treat them horribly and do all these things because that's what you are. And they just totally bought into it. And then by the end, they were just, like, really awful. And he was like, whoa, wait, this was a test, or like, this was to show you how easy it is to be susceptible. Yeah. And they felt really bad, and there was like movies about it. So I watched that in high school, but there was this other film that I watched, and I tried to Google it, could not find the name of it, but it was where as if Hitler had won. And so there's like a young class of students, so like maybe first grade. Okay. And they get a new teacher who is one of the Führer's best, and she comes in and is like telling them, and slowly over the course of this film, convincing them that they should, you know, bow to the Führer and that this is what's right. Yeah. And there's even like a kid whose parents are very clearly rebels who are most likely dead, like on the outside of this, or at least captured. And they're convincing him that what his parents believe is wrong. And it's just like one class, like it's one day of class. And by the end of it, the kids are like, you know, impacted. And the part that stuck out was there's this part where she's like, close your eyes, pray to God, and ask for candy. So they all do that. When they open their eyes, there's no candy. Yeah. So she says, all right, now close your eyes, pray to the Führer for candy. They do that. And she goes around and puts candy on their desk. Yeah. They open their eyes. There's candy there. Yeah. And she's like, the Fuhrer will deliver to you.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's just this idea of like, of brainwashing, I guess. Like, I'm going to put quotations in that because it's not real. But it's like conditioning and forcing you to believe. And even like 1984, like children were ratting out their parents.
Yeah.
So that was like a big thing too, is like kids can be used and are the best way to use, like manipulate.
Well, because they just want to do what like they're being told is the right thing to do. They want to fit whoever they've like imprinted on's desires.
Yeah.
It's like you want them to be loud and punch kids in the face. If that's what you consider a good child,
yeah,
they'll probably do it because they want to be they want to make you proud.
Yes. Yeah.
They want
and
to do the right thing.
They want to be what they think is the hero. Mm-hmm. And if society tells them the heroes rat out the rebellion, then you want to be that hero. Who does that? My least favorite part of this film is this kind of like reveal where Curtis tells this gruesome story of when the car, like when they first got on the train and they stopped feeding them. And it was a way to, isn't what we find out, is that it was a way to kind of downsize their population.
Yeah, population control.
And it was just that they all started eating each other. And he tells this whole story was like, ask me why I know babies taste the best. And he like says he tried to eat a baby and this man was like, eat my arm instead. And he was just like, you know who that man was. And the baby was my friend who I just let die back there. And I was the guy who tried to eat him. And you're like, what? And I get why it's there. And it is like, and I think like in the book, it's probably more impactful, right? But cinematically, I felt like it felt kind of flat because we have this film where we're progressing forward, right?
Yeah.
Or right. And we're going through doors and we're hitting bad guys and we're being tricked and we're doing this and that. And then we hit the last door and he can't get into it because he never had any intention of getting in there. He didn't want, like, Nam-goong did not want to get into the engine. He does not care for the engine. And so we stop and we just sit down and we cry. And then...
Yo, I'm going to say something that's going to blow up your whole world, Gabe.
Yeah.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
So, in trauma...
Yeah.
They say, if you're still in it, you're still going.
Yeah.
You don't feel it. That's why people who, like, are still in, like, societies taken by war and they're still in that are like, why are Americans so soft?
Yeah.
It's because we haven't seen war in a very long time. We're sitting. We've stopped.
Yeah.
So now we can finally process all of the awful things that have happened that we have done.
Yeah.
So scientifically, it makes sense.
So he's at the part where he stops. I get it. I just feel like it didn't do quite what I wanted it to do, like what I feel like it should have. Like, I feel like the whole time, this whole film, we've been moving forward, and all of the background and supporting narrative has been from, like, the outside. Like, it's, like, been, like, peripheral of, like... Also, here's what kids are being taught. Also, here's the history. Also, in, like, stories, but we're still moving. Like, we're still going. We're still, like, doing something, right? And so, with this, it was, like, we literally stopped. And then he's, like, crying. And then the other part of it is that, like, Wilford's lackey just, like, opens the door. So I was like, it's very nice of him that he was just chilling in his engine room, all fancy-like, and was just waiting for him to finish his story. Right? Yeah. Here, the cool part that I liked about this end is that we actually hear from Nam-goong, who reveals that he is a hero all along because he's not addicted to this substance. He's actually going to use it to blow up the part of the train so that they can leave. Yeah. Because he has seen the progress and believes that after 17 years, the Earth is just warm enough. It's still cold, but it's warm enough for survival. Yeah. Whereas the original 7, which are like the fabled people who tried to escape, were the ones who left, and it was still too cold.
You know what this means? We need to make the upper people think that we are exactly what they think we are. Yeah. And then plan.
And then explode
and build. And take all the things that they would think they're going to help us get rid of the thing that they think we are. And then we end it all. We create a whole new system.
Yeah.
A better one.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. We just need a new one.
Yeah. Start fresh. Not genocide, but fresh.
Just fresh start. Just start it over. Reset button. there's also like the I did really love the reveal at the end where Curtis is confronted with the fact that he has been chosen to continue on the tradition, that like he has tried to fight against this system and now he is being asked to perpetuate that same system. Like he is being handed the American dream as a way of like distracting him from the horrible things, right? Like, it's like, this is what you earned from getting all the way up here on the train. And also, don't you understand that it is necessary to keep the people down? Look at all the people who died because you tried to do something else. And it's like, and I just enjoyed that wasn't really the answer. The answer was like dismantling the system completely and doing something else.
I 100% agree with that. Like, I mean, a lot of people did have to die.
Yeah.
In this scenario.
But that happens a lot when you have rebellions and war. But yeah, I did like that ending where he's just like, what? But all in all, it was a fun film.
It was a good time.
Yeah. But now I'll get into Parasite.
Parasite is scary, great.
So many words to say about Parasite, guys.
Say them, get them out.
So it's, first off, incredibly worthy of all the awards.
Oh, 100%.
And when I first watched it, my friend was like, did you like it? Like, immediately after. And I was like, I need to just, like, digest what I just saw. And there was a scene that, like, really stuck out to me where I was like, I do really love this film. Yeah. And I was, like, absolutely convinced of it at that point. And it was, so there's a scene where the family, the Kim family, leaves the Park house and they are traveling home. And this is, like, the lowest point of their existence at this point, where they have just been, like, confronted with the reality of their situation. They're hopeless. They're traumatized. It's downpouring, right? And it started as just, like, it kind of unruly downpouring where they were at the crest of the hill, which is the Park house. Yeah. But they are traveling home. And this whole scene is, like, 10, 15 minutes long, I feel like.
It was a long journey.
It was very long. And they're, like, walking, and so there's, like, this scene where it's kind of, like, this very, very wide shot of them kind of like platformer game style where they're walking across the screen and they're walking down and we see them like kind of just trickling down and then they're like walking down these steps and then they're walking down this like tunnel and then they're walking down these steps and like, but it's all different kinds of steps. Like it's not like the same ones and it's a different direction each time, but they're always going down. And then as they're getting down, the rain is getting worse. And there's a part where the sun like stops and he can see the flooding waters like going by his feet, and then they look down and it's all like sewage water because of the flooding in this area because this family lives in a sub-basement. So that whole scene of them going down, I was like, oh my God, classism. Right? And I was like, that's like the epitome of this film. So there's some really great and amazing things that happen in here. There's a YouTube channel called Accented Cinema where he describes some of the camera angles and some of the deliberation of like certain things in the world even that will represent some of the things in the dialogue and the concepts that are discussed. So one of the things is, and something I noticed when I was watching, is we start with a camera angle where we're looking out a window and we're at, like, it's a window, but we're still at, like, floor level, right? So we're still seeing people's feet. And it's like, oh, we're in some kind of basement. And we come down, and then we're looking down at our character. So it is, and we follow him that way. And he's oftentimes, like, for the whole, like, first half of the film, until he gets this job, he is looked down upon. All those characters are. It's always this angle where we're, like, looking down at them. We also see, like, the kinds of things that they're drinking, and even if you don't know, like, what the, you know, Korean food is, you still, like, understand, like, this is, like, they're in a can, right? Like, and they're like, packages.
Food. Yeah, they're eating processed.
There's also this scene that you pointed out that I did not realize even, is that when he's having, when our main character is having, like, a drink with his friend who goes to college, right? There's like, they're sitting at the same table, but his friend is higher up on the street that's angled higher, and he's lower than him.
Yeah.
Even for that. Like, this little thing that you probably don't even notice.
Yeah.
And he was so deliberate.
They're very
about.
intentional. And that's what we say. If you do it with purpose.
Yeah. Do everything with purpose, right? Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And I thought what was even better was at the end, we have this like fantasy ending, and then we have the reality. Because the fantasy ending will leave you really, like, at first you're like, there's no way.
Yeah, like, ew.
If this is all it takes, then what are you really saying?
Yeah.
And then you realize, like, oh, no, it's cool. So, like, the whole point is that he's, like, forming a plan, but it's the same way that they've always been making plans.
Yeah.
And that he's still in the same place, because we have the same scene where it's darker now, but it's the same window. We're looking out, and then we come down. And this time we're looking at him dead on.
Yeah.
But the idea is that we have not progressed. That this family, despite all of the horrible things that have occurred, and even some wonderful things that have occurred in this film, are still in the same place that they always have been.
Yeah.
No matter what. And it really, like, just stuck with me. Because it's just, like, a whole time. There's, like, the scene where they come back to their house, and it's flooded, and the sister, Jessica, is what her name is, to the Park family, is sitting on the toilet as it's, like, spurting out
sewage,
which apparently is based on real life. And at the same time that's happening, we cut to the Park's house, and in the basement there, the woman, Moon Guang, I believe, is vomiting into the toilet. Yeah. Like, parallel, because she has a concussion, because the not so nice mom, if only she were rich, she would be nicer, kicked her down the stairs. So there's, like, that parallel, right?
And it's still a nicer basement than their basement.
Yeah,
because it's at that house.
Yes, there's, like, this conversation between Mr. Kim and Moon Guang's husband, who I can't remember his name, but he asks him, like, why would you live down here? Like, why do you live down here? And he says, plenty of people live in basements, especially if you count semi-basements, right? And actually,
sub-basements.
Sub-basements. But there's, like, this whole conversation, and he, like, totally, Mr. Kim just, like, kind of blows that off, right? But he lives in a sub-basement, right?
Yeah, he's, like, still, like, I'm better than you, so...
But the man says, I feel like I've lived here my whole life. I feel like I've even been married here. And it's, like, this idea, this concept of, like, he's always been down there. Like, he's always been down in society. And so it's, like, this really authentic, and, like, you can see it kind of tug at Mr. Kim of, like, you're groveling, man. Like, get up. Like, where's your pride, right? And it was just, like, just because I don't have pride, right? Like, just because I've accepted my circumstances doesn't make you better than me. Yeah. And that was super interesting. The whole, like, worshiping of Mr. Park by that character is also something to be remarked upon, because it's, like, this idea that we do look up to those figures, like you said. And they have no idea how they affect us. They have no idea how, like, their lack of paying taxes can impact, like, the way that we could eat, right? Yeah. So I think it was such a interesting thing that he's, like, literally, like, bleeding, communicating, and trying to give hhis thanks to this man who is disgusted by him and has no idea of his existence. Yeah. Like, they don't know. We're all ants.
Yeah, he's laying on the ground. Respect.
Yeah.
And he's just, like, covering his nose, just trying to get his keys.
Yeah. And just pushes him over and just, like, looks disgusted. Yeah.
Which sets Mr. Kim off.
Yeah.
And murder.
Yes. Another, like, camera angle thing is, so we have them always looking down, and the point when we stop doing that, there's a change, is when our main character, which I'm totally blanking on his name.
Kevin.
His name is, Kevin in the Parks, for the Parks, is getting the job. So he's going to get his job, and he starts traveling up, and there's a part where he's looking up at the park's, like, driveway area or the street, and then at some point he's at the top and he looks back down. So it's just like with Curtis looking left and right. Yeah. Right. He's making this decision to proceed forward and rise himself from his status. Right. Yeah. And then as he's going into their house, there's this, like, awkward angle where we're below him and the sky is like really bright. It's like not very aesthetically pleasing, right? It's just like too bright. And it's like this weird angle, and it's that we are following him. We are below him as a camera and moving up with him. And now we have like he is being risen from this, right? Something Accented Cinema brought up that I was like, what? I didn't even think about this, is the line. So in dialogue, Mr. Park keeps referencing the line. Yeah. Like they don't cross the line, or they cross the line. Yeah. Like Mr. Kim always gets to the line, he doesn't cross it. And it's this idea of like reaching above your station or stepping out of line.
Yeah, he even like said the one part is like the smell though. Yeah. The smell though might cross the line.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a smell they compare it to the subway or subterranean things, and it's this idea of like people who take the subway are dirty. Like they're disgusting. People take it's just the lower class. It's just like, and Jessica even says that. She says it doesn't matter if we change our detergent and if we change like our clothes, like we still live here, and so we will still always smell like this. Yeah. So we have to change the way that we live in order to no longer be smelt that way, right? Yeah. But the line is also shown visually. There's a scene where Kevin is trying to get the job and they go to wake up the missus. He's on one side of the glass from inside the house, and there's a line in the glass. So he's to the left of it. And then outside, we have a scene where it's Moon Gwang who is going to wake up Mrs. Park, and she is still on the left side of the glass, and Mrs. Park is on the right side of the glass. And then at one point, she like reaches out to like clap her hands so that she'll wake up, but she immediately retracts them and then like puts herself back in her space in the left side. Yeah, because she like cannot cross that line. And then later in that scene, we have Kevin going upstairs to see their daughter to tutor her. And she walks up the stairs first, Mrs. Park, and there's a line in the hallway. And when he follows her up, he promptly crosses to the other side of the hallway to stay on the other side of the line. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't even think about that. And it's all over. There's more than just that. But that one I was like, that's really cool. Thank you, Accented Cinema, for bringing that to light, because I was like, what?
Yeah, and it's like, after you said that, I like went back and thought about it. I was like, yeah, that does happen. Like, all the time.
Yeah. That's crazy. It's so awesome. Yeah. There's like quite a lot that Accented Cinema references. And if you really like Snowpiercer, even doing Nerdwriter 1, because it's pretty interesting, like the way that colors are worked with there, because it's very bright. I didn't even mention in Snowpiercer, the front half of the train, like the higher class, they also didn't have windows, and they were all just like hedonistic, like with like drugs
indulging any thing that they wanted, they had.
Yeah, they had an exorbitant amount, and they weren't living, they weren't contributing at all. And they were just as manipulated as the back half of the train. And it's like, that to me was like Brave New World level of like suppression.
I think of it like when you have like high society, like rich society, who like never had to work for anything. Yeah. And then they're just like very indulgent, and then oftentimes suffer with like substance abuse and like things that require restraint.
Yeah. Because they never know how to do it. But then it also keeps them in their place too, because they're still not the head of the train. Yeah. And they will never help anyone below them, and they'll never reach the head of the train. Yeah. Essentially, I can go on for days about Parasite, because it is phenomenal. It's funny, it's charming, and the cinematography is really gorgeous. Like, he made that house. Bong Joon-Ho made that house. Wow. Yeah, like, he was very deliberate about everything that he's done.
That's so cool. I love him.
Yeah, he's just, like, so wonderful. He's so charming. I just watched a video about Tilda Swinton, because he asked her to be in Snowpiercer, and she read the script and was like, there's no place for me. And he's like, read it again. And apparently, even up in, like, when they were shooting, the Minister Mason role was written in the script as a man. Okay. And he was like, no, Tilda Swinton can do this. And she rocked it, of course, always. Like, phenomenal. Like, one of the best parts of this whole film. There's so much that can be said about this. I just hope you guys watch it.
Please do. It's really good. Highly recommend.
Yeah. And if you just want,
star of approval.
Yeah, if you want, like, to be hit upside the head with analogies and symbolism. Shoes and hats and all of that, then, the lines. then watch it because
Cross the line, y'all.
Yeah.
Go see these films.
It's so good. It's so good about class. This is like the epitome of what we're saying of like your media analysis classes is like you don't even really have, you could have them off, but you are still learning something.
Yeah,
and that's
well, we
amazing.
have some films who do that. Like, they make it so explicit that you can't not get it. Like, Get Out does that too.
Like,
where it's like
you would have to really try hard.
Yeah, you have to like really miss the whole message entirely. Like, we're really putting it out there. It's on the nose.
Yeah.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's good because that's like, it appeals to more people who like generally aren't looking
for
as
that,
hard.
Yeah. Same thing with Attack the Block.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and those are our favorite films. You
Some
know,
on the nose
the
things.
ones that you just can't escape from.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings.
So if you like it, it's Ki Jung, which is the sister of the Kims, who is like honestly the best character in the film.
And she's fantastic. Like, both as an actress, but also like she's just like a really fun addition to the crew. Like, she's leading the whole way.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, she's not the first one in the door, but she makes it that she is the most important one through the door.
It's like, I just Googled art therapy and said some words and the woman was crying. And I was like, she's wonderful. So if you like it, it's Ki Jung because that's her actual name, her South Korean name. Yeah. And then they change it to Jessica because this family, the Parks, have this weird obsession with American things. Yeah. They believe that is status, right? Like, it's like, oh, that tent is going to hold up because we got it from America.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Oh, you were from Illinois? Like, ooh, Illinois.
How exotic.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, right? And it makes us laugh, but it's also funny to Koreans as well, I believe. And that they're like, oh, so of course. Like, there's an obsession with this other place. So if you don't like it, it's Jessica, because that's her American name.
Yeah.
Her fake role to fit into the Parks' idea of what is good,
trustworthy, I guess.
So, Kat, for the topic of classism,
I think it's very interesting, but it's bad. So it's a Jessica for me.
It's super Jessica for me. We don't need it. And the problem is that people don't really believe that we're doing it. Like, we talked about it from the lens of America specifically because we have no right to be making statements about South Korea. But that's what Bong Joon-Ho is doing. Like, you watch his films, he's telling you. And it happens all over the place, and I think it does need a change.
Well, yeah, people find it more digestible when it's about somewhere else because then it's not directly saying something about us.
Yeah.
Like, for anyone who's not with their media analysis glasses on.
Yeah.
They're like, that's just like, wow, South Korea is rough.
Yeah. Like, oh.
Wow, look at other people.
America is not like that.
Yeah.
We're so together.
And we try to act like we're so much better. We're not.
Nope.
Y'all.
Yeah. So
that's
just
what we
dismantle
say.
The system. I don't even think we need to see as a means of production. We just actually just like forget the means, forget the production, start it over.
Yeah.
That's my idea. What about for the films?
The positive one.
Ki Jung.
Ki Jung.
Yes. Yeah.
My mind blanked. I was like, what are we doing? Are we in a podcast?
Yeah.
What? Ki Jung. It was
Ki Jung.
fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic time. The films were amazing. They say so much and do so much subtly as well as blatantly. So I feel like, I don't know, it's just really talented that like he can make things this way. And I just want to keep making stuff.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. Because it's just like, I love it when people do stuff with purpose.
I agree. I think Snowpiercer was fun. The first time I watched it, I was like, what? Second time, I was like, whoa. And then Parasite, just every single time I watch it, I'm just like, I see something new, and I just like, respect, but like in a good way. Like, respect. Bong Joon-Ho.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's doing talented, good stuff.
Yeah. And I
people
think
just need to see it.
This series is going to be really interesting because we're talking about a lot of things that are scary out there in society, guys.
Scary and sad, but I feel like I don't feel as sad about it than I did in our last one, just because I feel like we have more of a grasp on it. You know what I mean? Like, it is a very somewhat insurmountable mountain that we have to climb. But at least we're unpacking all the little areas.
Yeah. At least some people are aware.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Don't get married.
They'll eat your kids. Literally.
They actually do that.
Yeah,
Snowpiercer,
literally
they eat
times.
babies. So they taste the best, apparently.
Ugh.
Thanks, Curtis.